So, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has taken it upon herself to disgrace her own name and to smear um, a noble cause. So, this is from Time magazine. Nancy Pelosi suggests foreign influence behind U.S. pro-Palestinian activism. What to know? Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has drawn criticism for suggesting that some pro-Palestinian activism in the U.S. is part of a foreign influence operation. On Sunday, the Democratic representative from California said she would like the FBI to investigate potential Russian connections and funding behind American calls for an armistice in the Israel-Hamas war. Responding to a question on CNN's State of the Union about growing anger among Democrats, particularly young people and Arab Americans, as the Biden administration's handling of the conflict, at the Biden administration's handling the conflict, Pelosi said, what we have to do is try to stop the suffering in Gaza, but for them to call for a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message. Make no mistake, this is directly connected to what he would like to see, Pelosi continued. I think some of these protesters are spontaneous and organic and sincere, she caveated. Some, I think, are connected to Russia, and I say that having looked at this for a long time, as you know. When asked by CNN correspondent Dana Bash to clarify if she thought some protesters were Russian plants, Pelosi replied, seeds are plants. I think some financing should be investigated, and I want to ask the FBI to investigate that. Russian President Vladimir Putin has openly blamed the U.S. and the West for the crisis in Gaza, and experts say he is trying to use the widespread backlash towards the mounting toll on Palestinians to counter the U.S.'s global influence. Adding to her charges of Russian influence in a video posted by the anti-war group Code Pink on X on Monday, Pelosi can be seen telling activists outside her home in October to go back to China, where your headquarters is. Like Russia, China, which has called for a ceasefire but generally maintained a strategically ambiguous stance on the Israel-Hamas war, has been accused of using the war to undermine the U.S. Okay, so what we're seeing here, which is no surprise, is the big boogeymen, Russia and China, being blamed for the fact that many Americans don't approve of their government's policy in regards to Israel. So yeah, you just blame. If the population doesn't agree with the government's actions, well, you just blame outside governments. You just say, oh no, the American people. I mean, maybe some of them. I mean, I know she added that caveat, some of it's organic, but I mean, what she's implying is, oh, well, organically, generally speaking, the American people aren't going to be this upset about it, but not unless they're being manipulated, unless there's secret agents behind the scenes trying to rile up the population against our funding of Israel's conflict. Unless there's some secret operation that our enemies are engaged in to undermine our just cause of standing up against Hamas. That's the only explanation. It couldn't be that more and more people are realizing how morally bankrupt Israel is and how morally bankrupt the U.S.'s support of Israel is. No, of course not. Of course not. That would be insane. Of course, that's not insane. That's exactly what's happening. In fact, among young people, Biden, for example, the polling isn't looking good because many young people, they don't want to support Joe Biden because he's supporting mass slaughter in Gaza. Biden's losing in, among Arab Americans because, again, they don't want to see mass slaughter in Gaza. There's many people in this country that don't want to see mass slaughter in Gaza don't want our tax dollars helping mass slaughter in Gaza. That's the real story here. And in fact, it really warms my heart, honestly. I mean, I went to one pro-Palestinian protest, but there've been all sorts throughout the world, and it really warms my heart that so many people are being active, are getting out there to fight for, like I said at the beginning, is a noble cause. It puts faith in it revives my faith in humanity. It makes me think that maybe we can make a better future for ourselves and others. But no, I mean, to see a elected official talk in this way about pro-Palestinian activists, it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. She should be ashamed of herself. She should be ashamed of herself. She should. She's not going to issue a public apology. In fact, arguably, this is so shameful. She should resign. That's a fantasy world, I know. I mean, even the apologies in a fantasy world. She's not even going to apologize, I know. But it's good to stories like this always remind me that our elected leaders aren't with us, and this isn't some conspiracy like, oh, everyone in the government is evil or something. No, it's just in the power structures that we live under, those that are in power have different values, and we need to try to get people. We need to try to replace these people, and we need to replace the people that have these corrupt values with people that actually share our values. And we need to try to reform the system in such a way that it can actually support and foster our values.